DJ Scream, heavy in the streets.
We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood. We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood.
Hood rich.
Get it out the mud.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And we are back. We are back with some more appetizers. These ended up to being pretty tasty appetizers, possibly the best when it comes of mixed martial arts, possibly the best numbered or pay-per-view card of the year so far, of the season. And we're talking about UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes, which happened just this past Saturday, April 12th, 2025, at the Casilla Center. Casilla Center in Miami, Florida, United States. And that had 18,287 in attendance and 11.5 million at the gate. Like I was just saying, though, this felt as if it was one of the best cards of the year so far, possibly the best pay-per-view or not numbered card. And that wasn't really necessarily like going into this card. I was feeling a little, feeling like it just off of name recognition and number of title being defended, because title technically wasn't being defended on this card. It was just vacant. So the fact that there weren't actual champions defending their belts, and there was only one title up for grabs in this card. And then you had kind of some older veterans, kind of names that were just kind of familiar or recognizable just because of their age, how long they've been in the sport. But no, it turned out to be a great card, and for once it seemed like the main card actually outdid either the early prelims or just the preliminary cards. With you got a lot of exciting finishes and no real surprises with any of the victories, but definitely you got some knockouts and some submissions on the main card. So let's get into this card. Just from viewing value, it was really great. Like I'm been saying, it was one of the greatest cards of the year. But if you're going off of your picks or you got a loan shark or something, you got money on any of this, then it probably wasn't as fun of a night as it was as if you were just a casual fan just watching. But we'll go over my picks, no matter whether how hot or not they were. We'll go over the picks and maybe even some methods that I thought were going to come from these fights. But it seemed like a lot of them went completely the opposite way. Like it kept the method, but it went to the other fighter on a good portion of my fights on the main card that we picked. But anyways, let's get into this. So can I get a menu? And so the first fight on the card was a light heavyweight bout between Dominic Reyes versus Nikita Krylov. And I guess I lost over. I was hiding much about how Reyes had to take off a couple years after getting knocked out 3 times in a row and losing 4 and being on a 4-fight losing streak. And then he came back and won the last 2 fights that he's had by knockout, but didn't think they were really that high level of light heavyweights, at the same level as Nikita Krylov, where he was ranked like 8th and light heavyweights. But just because we were highlighting so much of the time that Dominic Reyes took, we didn't highlight or mention really at all that Nikita Krylov, who, he was on a 3-fight winning streak, but he hadn't fought since March 11th, 2023. So he hadn't fought in more than 2 years, So I think that's where maybe we messed up on that pick. We just kind of missed out on that. But yeah, this fight went kind of the way I was expecting Nikita Krylov to do Dominic Reyes. But Dominic Reyes, he looked good. He looked faster and stronger, and pretty much anywhere this fight went, forever how long it lasted. It only lasted to the 2:24 mark of the first round, and Nikita Krylov looked like he wasn't having too much success in the striking, and then he went for a couple kind of like failed takedown attempts, and then he just literally just like ran into a straight left by Dominic Reyes and got dropped, and then caught some nasty hammer fist at the end and got KO'd. So we're oh yeah we're 0-1-1 on this card because we I guess if you're just going off of counting each one of them, we counting the pick and the method. So I guess you could just say we're 0-2 because I picked Nikita Krylov to knock out Dominic Reyes because just in previous fights, uh, 3-4 fights ago, a lot of people were questioning Dominic Reyes' chin, but he looked amazing in this fight. Uh, he made Nikita Krylov look exactly like I expected him to look. But so we're like 0-2 on this because I thought Nikita Krylov was going to knock him out and obviously get the win with that. So in the first bout, we have light heavyweight Dominic Reyes defeating Nikita Krylov at the 224 mark of the first round. A KO punch just walked right into a straight left and then caught some nasty hammer fist at the end of it. All right. And I had a bit of a shout out here that kind of uh, is kind of associated with the next fight on the card. Yeah, I want to shout out my guy Little Man. Throwing out some comments and throwing some likes in there, and Arkansas brethren. We were we were pulling for Bryce Mitchell, and we were made all the thoughts and uh, ways and strategies and methods and reasons as to why he should beat Jan Silva, and that he's a higher ranked featherweight at the time, and he should have had a better ground game. That didn't happen in this fight at all. Went once again two in a row where the fight went exactly the opposite way of how I thought it was going to go. Because I picked Bryce Mitchell to win this fight, possibly in the first or second round by submission. But it ended up being him who ended up getting submission at the 352 mark of the second round by a nasty ninja choke that put him to sleep. It was like, I'm surprised it doesn't say that it was a technical submission. I guess because he was tapping out, but it was held. He held. Jan Silva held on to it for just a second too long, to where you got the bad aesthetics of seeing Bryce Mitchell out cold with like his eyes rolling in the back of his head. Just not a good look for just a social and media wave for Bryce Mitchell, trying to build a following. That's just not the best look, being asleep on the canvas. I already dealt with a lot of that already after the Josh Emmett fight, and it seems like it's the same day, different day, same story is what it seems like in this fight. But yeah, this was maybe the most surprising fight on the card, just the outcome. I just didn't expect it to go this way at all, because Jan Silva, he pretty much dominated Bryce Mitchell anywhere the fight went. Basically, dominated him in the first round in the striking game, and Bryce Mitchell wasn't able to do much in regards to trying to take him down. And he rocked Bryce Mitchell once pretty good, and at that time I thought, oh, he's just going to knock him out and get the TKO or the KO on him. But no, Bryce Mitchell was able to make it to the second round, and then in the second round he was just doing like these half-hearted, half-strength type of just shots, just kind of throwing himself at Jan Silva's legs and just kind of throwing his head in there. And he threw his head in there around around the 3 minute mark of the second round, and he got caught in that ninja choke, and they went to the ground with it, and Jan Silva got him flipped over, and man, he had it real tight then, and that's what he had, but he was put to sleep by the time Jan Silva let it go. So Bryce Mitchell, yeah, he just looked like he had no answer in the striking game in the first 2 rounds or so, and then when he tried to just seem like he was just doing like anything he could do to get the fight to the ground, he just couldn't get Jan Silva down. He just hardly could even get a hold of him. So yeah, that fight, if I saw Jan Silva winning this, I just thought he was going to just slump and sleep Bryce Mitchell. I did not see him choking him out like that, because I think it was consensus that Bryce Mitchell, if nothing else, had a little more experience and should have been a lot better on the ground, but definitely didn't display that in this featherweight bout. So in the featherweight bout between Jan Silva versus Bryce Mitchell, we have Jan Silva submitting uh, Bryce Mitchell with a ninja choke at 3:52 of the second round. That was nasty. All right. Now then, on to the third fight on the card. We have Yari Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. And with Yari Rodriguez, it's kind of the thing that we were kind of highlighting big, or at least I was highlighting big going into this fight, is that he was on a little bit of a bumpy stretch. Even though one of the losses was a TKO loss to Alexander Volkanovski, and then a submission arm triangle choke by Brian Ortega. But I kind of thought Brian Ortega and Patricio Pitbull were kind of similar fighters in this fight. But I saw in this fight was all the wild angles and different kicks and switching of stances. And it just didn't seem like Patricio Pitbull could ever get really a gauge on Yair Rodriguez, and never was able to like get a hold of him to be able to push him up against the fence or take him down. And they talked about how Patricio Pitbull, since being like in Bellator, like he hadn't fought like in a just a 3 round fight in like 10 years. So it felt kind of like a Patricio Pitbull was kind of took the first 2 rounds off. Maybe that's just something that's kind of ingrained in him after fighting so many championship fights and and just having 5 minute round fights and kind of knowing that if you're in a 5 round 5 minute fight, that you have to like take it easy, like maybe take it slow, not have quite a fast start in the first and second round, so you don't blow and use all your energy. But yeah, it didn't really seem until like the kind of the end of the second round, or uh, the the fourth round, where he started landing some decent shots and looked like he was being a little more aggressive, trying to push the pace with Yair Rodriguez. But Yair Rodriguez was just kind of a master class of, I got better striking than you. I come at you in better angles, and I'm faster and quicker and more elusive. And it was just Patricio Pitbull just couldn't get a gauge on him, and didn't really start opening up until it was too late in the fourth quarter, or fourth round. And that was basically, and Yair Rodriguez did a good job of keeping it basically Patricio Pitbull at a distance, and just it was like a kickboxing bout. And it was 30-27, 30-27, 30-27. So even though I thought Patricio Pitbull opened up and started kind of pushing the pace a little bit in the third round, obviously none of the judges didn't even give him a round in this fight. So in the featherweight bout between Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull, I had it for Patricio Pitbull, and I thought he was going to win decision. So it's just, you can take my picks and pick the complete opposite of how they're going to go, and you'd be too be doing pretty good with your loan shark. You'd be doing pretty good with it. But yeah, it seems those first 3 fights I pick the loser in the bout, and they lose exactly how I expected them to beat their opponent in these first 3 fights. Uh, it was fun though. Good fights, good first 3 fights to start the card. So other than my aesthetics and what I bring to the game in the podcast here, it doesn't hurt my feelings too much. I'd rather have good fights than unless I had money on all this to just get every single one of them right. If we're getting crazy finishes and wild knockouts and submissions, and I'm good with it. I'm sure there's some people out there that literally hate the athlete that they bet on that ends up losing, as if it's necessarily the athlete's fault for that. Some wild people out there on social media. All right, now then, on to the co-main event. This may have been the only positive pick and positive fight for me after the prediction podcast. We have a lightweight 5 round co-main event, not for a belt, it was just a 5 round co-main event between Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler. And this fight went a little bit different with the method, but I got a pick right on this. It ended up being elbows and punches at the 307 mark of the third round. So Paddy Pimblett didn't get that choke. I was expecting him to probably get some type of choke off of Michael Chandler, and that actually Michael Chandler actually ended up being the one that I thought was going to be closer to getting Paddy Pimblett out of this fight. In the first round, towards the end of the first round, Michael Chandler got Paddy Pimblett in a pretty good, seemed like it was a pretty tight guillotine choke that at moments had me kind of gritting my teeth, like, oh, has he actually got that in there that good? But Paddy Pimblett, he's so skilled on the ground and so has so much veteran and calmness now that he didn't have like 4 or 5 years ago, and his striking was so much improved that to the point where it was better than Michael Chandler's. Like, I don't think there was a lot of people that thought Paddy Pimblett was going to come into this fight, and he started actually tucking that chin away a little bit more. Michael Chandler only maybe landed on it like 2 or 3 times, where like like Paddy Pimblett was saying, like, oh, I can't get knocked out. You can't knock me out. Maybe that's true, but even so, his striking just in general in this fight was so sharp and better than Michael Chandler's, to the point Michael Chandler was the one trying to take him down a couple times. He'd get him like on around his back, around his waist, and was just trying to like pull him down with like all of his weight. But hell, Paddy Pimblett kind of just shook that off, and then towards the end of the second round, Paddy Pimblett landed a devastating knee, like right in Michael Chandler's face, and split open a big cut under his eye. And then Michael Chandler, he was pretty much done really after the second round. But then Paddy Pimblett just overwhelms him in the third round, to the point where he just kind of crumbles to the mat, and then Paddy Pimblett just destroys him, finishes him with vicious elbows and punches, ground and pound at the 307 mark of the third round. He just like dominated Michael Chandler, absolutely dominated and completely just schooled Michael Chandler. Maybe sent Michael Chandler to the retirement home. I'm sure that's what a lot of people are saying. If they're not respecting the win by Paddy Pimblett, they're just saying, oh well, he beat an old guy. He beat a guy that's pushing 40. But I was impressed with it. I was impressed with just how much better his striking was than in previous fights, and that it basically was forcing Michael Chandler to try to take the fight to the ground. All right. So that's our one victory, even though I thought Paddy Pimblett was probably going to get a choke. He was going to get some type of wild choke after a wild series and combination by Michael Chandler, and then Michael Chandler was going to leave his neck out there for, I don't know, a guillotine choke or a head and arm triangle choke or a rear naked choke. But it ended up being Paddy Pimblett, finishing him with some vicious ground and pound. All right, now then, on to the main event of UFC 314, Volkanovski versus Lopes. And this bout, I had to correct myself a couple times that I thought it was Volkanovski defending his belt, but actually it was for the vacant featherweight championship. So we had Alexander Volkanovski, the challenger, versus Diego Lopes, the challenger for the featherweight belt. And this fight, basically, I kind of needed to just see, is Volkanovski back, or is that chin starting to waver a little bit? And Alexander Volkanovski, he had one of his classic performances. I mean, like, the only thing that he didn't have in this fight was the finish. He didn't get the knockout or any type of submission. It ended up being a unanimous decision, 48-47. 49-46, 49-46. I don't know if I agree with the 49-46. I think I would have more went with the 48-47, because I think I would have given Diego Lopes the third and the fifth round. But this fight ended up going all 5 rounds, 25 minutes, and Alexander Volkanovski, he just looked like the Volkanovski of old, in at least the first 2 rounds. I think it was the first round. It was just pretty much all striking, standing, and Diego Lopez could hardly even find Alexander Volkanovski to land a significant shot on him. And then in the second round, Volkanovski laid a pretty good shot on Diego Lopez and looked like there for just a moment that he was maybe going to be able to get Diego Lopez out of there with some just striking in general. Maybe he was going to have him against wilt against the cage, but Diego Lopez showing that he's tough and he can't be put out of a fight that easily. But the fight, it was a long fight. It was a 5 round fight, so it progressed. There was other moments where it looked like Diego Lopez maybe had a shot at finishing Alexander Volkanovski uh, in the third round. That was kind of towards like the middle part of the third round. Diego Lopez landed a couple good shots and then had Volkanovski backing up. And when I seen Volkanovski kind of backing up and kind of tripping over himself, kind of bouncing his back off the back of the cage, and Diego Lopez hitting him with some different combinations, it felt so similar to how it looked and the scene from his knockout loss to Ilya Tapora. And I thought, like, okay, Diego Lopez may not be landing as many strikes in this fight, but he's landing the harder strikes and the more vicious and explosive looking strikes. But he was only landing like half as many. But at that moment, I thought he was about to get the knockout or the TKO, similar kind of to what the crazy combinations that led to the knockout win over Alexander Volkanovski by Ilya Tapora. But Alexander Volkanovski taking the year off obviously helped the chin a little bit. If we were to have had this fight maybe 6 months earlier, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that chin would have turned to dust again, turned to powder in this fight. But no, it didn't. And then we just got kind of more of the same from Alexander Volkanovski in the fourth round, where he basically Diego Lopez just couldn't hardly find Volkanovski to land any significant shots, and Alexander Volkanovski just kind of on the outside just landing significant strikes at a high clip. And then I think Diego Lopez knew that he was down come the fifth round, so he started opening it up more and just kind of throwing crazy combinations and strikes. And then it was with like a minute left, he was kind of like pointing at the middle, the ground, and at the center of the octagon, because I think he want Alexander Volkanovski to come in and have a crazy wild striking fest with him. But Alexander Volkanovski, I think he knew that he'd already secured the win, so he was kind of dancing around on the outside. But Diego Lopez, he was trying, putting everything he had into those last shots that he had in the fifth round, to that's where I see that Diego Lopez won the fifth round. And then because he actually did rock Volkanovski in the third round, that's why I would be giving him the third and the fifth round to get that 48-47 still victory by Alexander Volkanovski, 3-2 on the scorecard there. But hey, a really good card. I'm not a hater on Alexander Volkanovski. I just wanted to see more from him, and just because Patricio Pitbull, not many fighters from Bellator or other organizations ever seem to really come over here and like dominate or look amazing in their debut. So even though he was calling himself the greatest featherweight in mixed martial arts, might have to see another performance of him. Even though like every fight that he had and while he was in Bellator was basically a title fight, maybe the bright lights got to him, or he just wasn't prepared actually for a 3 round fight. He maybe didn't realize that he needed to pick the pace up a little bit faster. You can't really take the first and second round off in just a 3 round fight. You can maybe have a slow start in a 5 round, but not in a 3 round. So be interesting to see if Patricio Pitbull wants to move forward and fight someone else in the featherweight division, or what exactly. You got some of these guys where it just takes one bad loss to send him to the retirement home. So Patricio Pitbull, he's not definitely not in line for a title opportunity now, like he would have been if he had an impressive win. So he's kind of, maybe not all the way to the back of the line, but he's definitely needs to go head back to maybe the middle portion of the line, because I am not seeing that now. And nice to see Dominic Reyes back, getting a brutal knockout over Nikila Krylov. And Jan Silva, I kind of still felt that he was probably, if he was going to win, it was going to be a knockout over Bryce Mitchell, but beating him out of his own game was wild. And just like I said, more bad aesthetics, more not a great look by Bryce Mitchell. Seeing him in two of his last three fights, seeing him slumped on the cage with his slumped on the mat with his eyes rolling back in his head, and just has that glassy look on his face. Just not the best for production and trying to promote yourself. Not the best. Already a lot of haters, just freedom of speech, but people can point right to why they think you're no good by picking out moments in fights where you were slumped, put to sleep, literally. All right, so that's UFC 314. Definitely an exciting card. Maybe didn't have as much name recognition and title defenses as you'd normally like, but just the product in the cage was great. And we'll just go over awards here. We'll try to get up out of here. I'll maybe talk about UFC 15 just real quick. So for the $50,000 bonuses, we had a fight of the night. I guess they were saying that they hadn't had a fight of the night in several cards. So that kind of gives you an idea of how some of these cards have been recently, to where they can't even award any fighters a fight of the night because none of the cards have been any good. But we have one on this card. Alexander Volkanovski showed out, and Diego Lopes showed and proved that he's worthy as a title contender. Being a top ranked featherweight. But yeah, so for the fight of the night, we had Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes, of course. And then performance of the night, this kind of worked out how I usually like it. I usually like to see a submission and a knockout of the night, but we basically had that. They just recategorized it to performance of the night. I know you don't always have knockouts and submissions on every card, but same as apparently I guess I hadn't followed it or just hadn't noticed it. Maybe they were just handing out more performances of the night. I hadn't noticed that there hadn't been a fight of the night, but doesn't really surprise me just with the quality of the product in the cage that we've been getting lately from some of these watered down cards, or just too many fight nights. But definitely can applaud this card for at least the product in the cage. Maybe not as many breath takers or surprises, just because we didn't have any real superstars on the card besides Alexander Volkanovski, who there was a lot of questions about him coming into this card. But for performance of the night, we can call that knockout of the night for Paddy Pimblett, and then we can say Jan Silva had the submission of the night. So yeah, definitely exciting to get all of those reward bonuses, fighter bonuses on the main card. What people are paying for. So that was great. That was good. I'm glad that happened for the people spending $80 on a card. I just wanted to mention UFC 315. That's probably when we'll be back. So that's May 10th, 2025. So a little less than a month from now. I think the two main draws of this card are the two title bouts being defended on this card. So we have a welterweight championship bout versus Bilal Muhammad, the champion, versus Jack Della Maddalena. That should be an intriguing fight. That'll be one of those ones that's intriguing as to who goes for the takedown first, or who thinks that their ground game is better. Bilal Muhammad's definitely shown that his ground game looks pretty elite and that he can take just about any fighter there and keep them there for the majority of the fight and grind out wins. We've definitely seen that from Bilal Muhammad during his championship win and his run to the belt. But Jack Della Maddalena has a similar type of style. And then we have the other title bout on the card is the women's flyweight bout between Valentina Shevchenko, the champion, versus Manon Fiorot, the challenger. And I guess we'll see if Valentina Shevchenko, more than likely, I haven't heard a lot about Manon uh, Fiorot too much, but I would just with the feel of this and the seriousness of her original comeback here, I imagine this would probably be Valentina Shevchenko just adding to her story after getting her belt back over Alexa Grasso at UFC 306 back in March 14th, 2024. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. So can I get a check, please?